Sometimes the scariest stories aren't made up at all. They don't come from movies or urban legends. They come from real life, the kind of events you can read in the news, backed by evidence, neighbors, police reports, or even video footage. And that's what makes them terrifying. These are not ghost tales whispered around a campfire. These are true accounts of fear, loss, and mystery things that happen to real people who never expected their lives to turn into horror stories. Tonight, I'll share with you 5 of the most chilling true stories ever told. From a man secretly living in the walls of a family's home, to a mummified corpse discovered by a child, to a hotel death that still remains unsolved, these are the kinds of nightmares that reality can deliver. These are true horror stories that will keep you awake. Story 1. The Man in the Walls. In the late 1970s, author Grady Hendrix was a child living in a seemingly normal home in South Carolina. But years later, he would reveal a story that went viral, a story about the man who lived inside his walls. It began with little things: food missing from the fridge, items in the house slightly out of place. His parents scolded him for sneaking snacks or blamed each other for misplacing things. But Grady insisted he hadn't touched anything. Then came the sounds. At night, he'd hear faint shuffling, scratching, even the creak of floorboards when everyone else was asleep. The family brushed it off as the house settling. But the noises grew louder, more deliberate, as though someone was moving just out of sight. One night, Grady woke to the sound of whispering. He sat up in bed, heart racing. From inside the wall behind his headboard, he heard breathing, heavy, steady breathing. Terrified, he told his parents. At first, they dismissed it, but soon they couldn't ignore the evidence. One morning, his mother found footprints in the attic dust, footprints too large to belong to anyone in the family. Finally, the father decided to investigate. With a flashlight, he crawled into the narrow crawl space that ran through the walls of the house. What he found made his blood run cold. There, in the darkness, were makeshift bedding, scattered food wrappers, and even crude drawings on the wall. Someone had been living there for weeks, maybe months, hiding just inches away from the family as they ate, slept, and lived their daily lives. Police were called, and the intruder was eventually flushed out. He had been using hidden passages, moving silently, and stealing food when no one was watching. The idea that someone could be so close, so unseen, shook the family to their core. Even after the man was gone, Grady admitted he never felt fully safe in that house again. Because once you know someone has been watching you in the place you thought was safest, you can never unknow it. Story 2. The Mummified Body in the House. In 2014, a 12-year-old boy in Detroit was playing in an abandoned house when he stumbled upon something he would never forget. He noticed a foul smell, thick and rotten, clinging to the air. Curious and a little nervous, he followed it up a staircase. The house was falling apart, wallpaper peeling, floorboards warped. At the top of the stairs, he opened a small room. And there, slumped in a chair, was what looked like a mannequin. But as he got closer, his stomach turned. It wasn't a mannequin. It was a human body. The corpse was dressed in normal clothes, but the skin had shriveled, dried, and tightened. The body was completely mummified, preserved by the dry air and cold Detroit winters. It looked more like a husk than a human. The boy ran screaming from the house, and neighbors quickly called police. When officers arrived, they confirmed the chilling discovery. It was a woman, perfectly preserved, who had been dead for years. Investigators pieced together her story. Her name was Pia Fahrenkopf. She had been a woman in her 40s, living alone. At some point, she died, but no one noticed. Her bills continued to be paid automatically from her bank account. Her lawn was cut by neighbors who assumed she was away. The world moved on without her, and her body remained seated in that chair, year after year. It wasn't until her money finally ran out that foreclosure hit her property, and her secret was revealed. The image of her mummified body spread across news and social media, horrifying people worldwide, because it raised an unsettling question. How many other lives, unnoticed and unmissed, might end in silence, leaving behind only a corpse waiting to be found? Story 3. The Realtor's Nightmare. In 2025, a realtor named Janitor Scott went viral after sharing what may be one of the most disturbing discoveries in real estate history. He'd been assigned to show a sprawling old home to potential buyers. At first glance, it was beautiful hardwood floors, large windows, and a rustic charm. But there was a strange stain in one of the rooms. At first, he thought it was water damage. The mark was dark, human-shaped, and stretched across the wood in an odd outline. But when he leaned closer, the smell hit him. The odor of death. He quickly contacted the property records and discovered the horrifying truth. A previous homeowner had died in that very spot. Their body had not been found for weeks. In that time, natural decomposition had occurred. The fluids seeped into the floorboards, leaving behind a permanent stain and imprint of the body itself. Despite attempts to clean and refinish, the outline never truly faded. When Scott posted his story and photos on TikTok, the internet erupted. Some called it the melted man stain, while others swore they'd never look at old homes the same way again. For Scott, the experience was unforgettable. Walking through that silent house, with the shape of death etched permanently into the floor, he felt as though the walls were whispering about what had happened. The story wasn't fiction. It was the undeniable reminder of how fragile life is, and how the marks we leave behind aren't always memories sometimes. They are stains that can never be removed. Story 4. The Watcher House. In 2014, Derek and Maria Brodus bought their dream home in Westfield, New Jersey. A beautiful 6-bedroom house on 657 Boulevard, perfect for raising their 3 kids. But within days of moving in, they received a letter. The envelope was addressed to the new owner. Inside was a chilling note. Do you know the history of the house? Why are you here? I am the Watcher, and I have been tasked to watch over 657 Boulevard. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s. My father watched in the 1960s. Now it is my time. The letter went on to describe details of the house, things only someone who had been observing closely could know. It mentioned the children by name, asking, "Have they found out what's in the walls yet?" The Broadises were terrified. More letters arrived, each more threatening. I see you've painted the walls. I know which rooms your children sleep in. Police were called, but no suspect was ever found. The case became national news, sparking endless theories, a stalker, a bitter neighbor, even a prankster. But no one was ever arrested. The Broadises never moved into their dream home. They were too afraid. Eventually, they sold it at a loss. The Watcher case remains unsolved to this day, a reminder that sometimes the danger isn't supernatural, it's human, and humans can be far more terrifying than ghosts. Story 5. The Elisa Lam case. The Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles has always carried a dark reputation. Built in the 1920s, it became infamous for suicides, murders, and hosting serial killers like Richard Ramirez. But in 2013, it became the center of one of the most chilling mysteries of the 20th century. Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old student from Canada, was traveling alone and checked into the hotel. Days later, she went missing. Police released security footage from the hotel's elevator, hoping for clues. The video quickly went viral. It showed Elisa behaving strangely, pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out of the elevator, peering out into the hallway, as if someone invisible was following her. At times, she waved her arms, as though arguing with something unseen. Then she vanished. Weeks later, hotel guests began complaining about water pressure. Some reported dark, foul-smelling water coming from the taps. Maintenance workers checked the rooftop water tanks. When they opened one, they made a horrifying discovery. Elisa's body was floating inside. How she got there remains a mystery. The tanks were heavy, difficult to access, and required a ladder to reach. The lid was found closed. No footage ever showed her going to the roof. Theories range from foul play, to mental health struggles, to something unexplainable. But no official answer has ever satisfied the public. To this day, Elisa Lam's final moments captured on that eerie elevator video continue to haunt viewers worldwide. These stories prove that horror isn't just fiction. Sometimes, it's painfully real. A man in the walls, a mummified body in a forgotten home, a stain where someone melted into the floor, a stalker who calls himself the Watcher, and the haunting mystery of Elisa Lam. Each one leaves us with questions we may never answer. But maybe that's why they stay with us, because reality doesn't always tie things up neatly. So, which of these true stories unsettled you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you've heard of other chilling true events, tell us we may feature them in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more real stories that prove sometimes reality is the scariest horror of all. Until next time, sleep well. If you can,